You're stuck at the manager level or even the individual contributor level, and you can't quite seem to figure out what it takes to actually move up to the executive ranks, director, VP, and above. Well, in today's video, we're going to talk about the 3 skills that you absolutely have to learn and master in order to become an effective executive. And stick around to the end, we're going to talk about a bonus skill that may actually even be more important than all 3 of those skills combined. My name is Tom Cox, and I run the Executive Career Accelerator, where we help you find, land, and excel in your first or next executive role. If that's interesting to you, DM me over on Instagram or leave a comment down below. First of the 3 skills that you have to master to become an effective executive is executive presence. Well, what is executive presence exactly? Well, it's a little bit hard to define this term. It's something that you can't really quantify. You can't say like, well, he has 87 executive presence. It doesn't really make sense. Executive presence is really how you show up to people. It's a sense of your gravitas, your the comfort that people feel around you. One of the best ways that I've found to define what executive presence is it's the ability to communicate confidence and to communicate confidently. And so what that looks like is you are helping other people around you feel confident in themselves around you, and you're also making them feel comfortable that you are a confident person as well. And this looks like if there is a bad situation at work where like maybe we're not being able to make payroll this month, you're calm under fire, right? That is one way to exude executive presence. Another is when there's multiple directions that we could possibly go, being contemplative and then choosing one and moving that direction and getting everybody on board with you. That comes from having the executive presence, the confidence in yourself, and instilling and inspiring confidence in others that your idea, your direction is the one that people should go with. So executive presence is something that it really boils down to confidence in yourself, in your abilities, and your ability to inspire confidence in others. Sylvia and Hewlett made a really great video, and I'll link it down below, where she talks about executive presence really coming from 3 components. And those components are gravitas, communication skill, and appearance. And gravitas, again, it's a word that's hard to explain. It's the weight of your presence in an environment, in a room. Like if everybody sees you and like, oh, he's here. That's gravitas. When you see like a A-lister star at a restaurant, they have a gravitas to them. Communication skill is exactly what you think it is. It's your ability to communicate your thoughts and ideas clearly and succinctly. And then finally, appearance. It's not necessarily what you're wearing or how you look, but it's how you show up. Are you showing up alert, attentive, ready? Are you showing up calm, collected, and prepared? Or are you showing up in other ways? And so thinking about that. Some questions that you can reflect on is, do people take you seriously when they ask you questions? Do people value your opinion? Do they want to hear what you have to say before a group makes a decision? Do you speak concisely and clearly, or are you rambling on in your conversation? And think about this. Like if you have a very clear and concise message, one of my favorite phrases is, if you want to amplify a message, simplify it. Make it super simple and concise. Are you doing that when you communicate with people, or are you just kind of rambling on, meandering through a topic? And finally, are you comfortable talking with senior level executives? Are you okay being in the boardroom with the CEO, the chairman, and so forth? Or does that make you anxious and nervous? All of those are questions to ask yourself to help kind of gauge and judge your own level of executive presence. And you can look around at others in your corporation, in your company, or in your environment who you kind of look up to. You can see how they carry themselves, and you can kind of judge, like, well, do they have executive presence? I don't encourage people to mimic other people. Like, it's really about having confidence in who you are and who you truly and honestly are, not who you mask yourself to be in front of others. But you can learn from others in terms of like, how do they carry themselves? Do you resonate with the way that they carry themselves? And so look for examples of executive presence that maybe you can try on. The second skill that you have to master in order to become an effective executive is your executive style. So, what is executive style exactly? Well, executive style is how you lead and manage. Leadership is an art where management is a science. Both can be learned and both can be practiced and both can be improved. But how you lead and how you manage both make up what your executive style is. It's how people learn how to work with you and for you, right? And so they know that you expect certain things, or you like to be communicated with in a certain way, or you have you have a way of sharing information in a way that they can understand. And so I want to show you a really cool graphic. This is from John Maxwell's books. This is the 5 levels of leadership. And so if you look at this pyramid, at the base, this is the very basic reason why people will follow you. People will follow you at the base level, layer 1, because they have to. And think of like being in the army, where you have to follow orders from a commanding officer. You have no choice. You have to, and therefore you do follow the orders. And so at the very base level, it's positional authority. The next level up is people follow you because they want to. And maybe it's because your job doesn't suck so much, right? And so you want to be in this relationship with this organization or this company, and so you allow them to lead you. At the third level, people follow you because of what you've done for the organization. And I like to think of this as hitching yourself to a rising star. You're working with someone that you see who's going to be great for the organization, and so therefore you want a little bit of that to rub off on yourself. So at the third level of leadership, people are following you because of what you've done for the organization. At the fourth level, people are following you because of what you've done for them. And these are those great bosses who helped develop your career. These are the ones who've actually taught you skills. They've helped you grow into new roles. They've done things for you. And so you just want to be around them because you know just by being with them, you're going to grow as a person and you're going to grow as a leader. And at the very highest level of leadership, it's a very hard level to attain, people will follow you because of who you are. This is transformational leaders, and there are great examples of transformational leaders out there. John Maxwell is one to me, to be honest with you. Lots of presidents have carried this role, and I think that you can find leaders who you follow them, you read their books, you follow their blogs because of who they are as a person, and you want to identify with that. An example of this for me is Simon Sinek. I really resonate with a lot of what he says, and I find that he is someone that I aspire to be more like, because he speaks publicly about how work environments have changed, how leadership is lacking in corporate culture, and I'm here because of a lot of what he has to say. So to me, he's a transformational leader. I have a lot of respect for him, and I see Simon Sinek as somebody who has achieved that highest level of leadership. So you're trying to move up this pyramid, and if you're not at level 3, you're probably not going to be an executive. Really, it's level 4 where you start to see a lot of success at the executive level. So keep that in mind. So how can you develop your executive style? Well, I mean, the first thing you can do is to lean into who you really are as a person, right? You want to figure out what your best traits are and amplify those, and then work on your areas of weakness. So if you have a temper, maybe practice meditation and mindfulness to bring that temper down. If you get real scared about things, or if you're nervous, find ways to calm your limbic brain. Like, work on the areas that you need to work on, but then figure out about yourself the things that really help you stand out and set yourself apart. Maybe you're somebody who has just like an amazing ability to see the future and kind of build ideas in your mind that you can actually bring into existence. Or maybe you're a super organized person and you can walk into a chaotic environment and create structure from madness around you. Those are your strengths. Whatever those strengths are, amplify them and lean into them, right? And the other thing you can do is you can go and learn a bunch of executive style frameworks. One of my favorite is Radical Candor, as an example. You can learn how to be candid with your employees in a way that's almost a little uncomfortable for them and for yourself, but everybody knows where everyone else stands in their relationship together. That's an example of one framework. I've pulled my executive style together from multiple frameworks. And in my course, we talk through, 6, 7, 8 different frameworks that you can pull from and kind of build your own style of leadership and management from those frameworks. So that's how you can grow in your own executive style. Finally, the third skill that you have to build to be an effective executive is your executive network. And so I love this expression, your network is your net worth. And if you think about this, most of the executive roles that are out there are found through networking. I think less than 10% of all executive roles have been found through job search or advertisements. It's just not how things work. At the executive level, those positions are either sent through executive headhunters who then go and search for the right person, or they're connected to people by word of mouth or through relationships that they have. So for example, in my career, most of my roles have come from my executive network where I didn't see a job description posted and then applied to it cold. In fact, every single one of my roles has been like this, except for my very first role out of the Army, where I found my first job after the Army in a newspaper ad, which I'm dating myself with that. But the point is that that's not how we find jobs. If you're out on LinkedIn looking for an executive role, there's an expression in the defense industry that if you're seeing the RFP for the first time, the request for proposal for the first time on the government website, you've already lost the program because other companies have written that RFP with the government to help steer it towards the direction of a couple companies who know exactly what the government needs. In the executive world, job descriptions tend to be written around very specific people so that they're publicly put out there, but they already have in their mind 1, 2, or 3 candidates that they want in that role. And it happens from time to time where you're a flyer, you come in and you just really wow them and they give the job to you, but it's not how it's typically done. And so you need to leverage your network in order to find your next executive role. And there's lots of ways to do this, right? So one of the most powerful and impactful ways is, whether you hate LinkedIn or not, whether you love it or not, LinkedIn is where people are going to find you. And so being active on LinkedIn by posting a blog once a week, or posting pictures of yourself doing cool things, or just talking about things that are of interest to you so that you are top of mind in your network and you're top of feed, let's be honest, that you're top of feed, that's how people will remember you. And as you build a persona of yourself online, which should reflect a very true and natural version of yourself, that persona will do a lot of the work for you. You should also be going to actual in-person events and meeting people and shaking hands. Go to trade shows that are important in your industry. Go to local events. I also highly recommend going to Toastmasters. That's a great way to kind of kill a couple birds with one stone. You meet other executives who also happen to have the exact same concerns that you have, and you can see my previous video about imposter syndrome. Toastmasters is a great way to work on that. But you can grow your network by going to these local events and building your online presence and building your profile on LinkedIn in such a way that people can kind of very quickly understand who you are and what you're good at. And then they will carry your message further out to people who are like, I'm looking for a really good operations person. Do you know anybody? Like, oh yeah, I see this person post about ops all the time. Let me send you her profile. So that's an example of ways that you can actively build your executive network. The last thing that I'll say about building an executive network is, whenever you talk with someone, whether it's in an email or a phone call or a text or in person, I like to use this concept called one ask, one give. And so one ask, one give looks like you saying, hey, I need this thing. Can you help me find this thing? And by the way, is there anything I can do for you? I'd love to introduce you to X. Are you looking to change your job? Are you looking to hire someone? Do you need an introduction to a customer, right? anytime you can give somebody something without reciprocity, it helps make it more comfortable to ask for something. So keep that in mind. One ask, one give, I think, is a really great tool to help build your executive network. So those are the 3 skills. But as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, there's a bonus skill that I want to talk about that may actually even be more important than those 3 skills to becoming an effective executive. And that skill is being coachable. This is the number one thing that holds most rising superstars back from being successful. And I'm raising my hand here because early in my career, I was the opposite of coachable. I was headstrong and very clear-headed about exactly what should be done and what shouldn't be done. And I didn't want to hear anybody's opinion. And I was frustrated and angry all the time. And it took me becoming a manager of exactly those kinds of people to realize just how awful it is when you're in that role. If you're a star, if somebody has said like, you're really good at what you do, you're an amazing person, and you feel entitled or you feel like you deserve a promotion, I have news for you. That getting promoted has nothing to do with how good you are at your job. You may be an amazing software developer. You may be an amazing engineer or a scientist or whatever individual contributor skill that you have. But to move to the manager level, you have to know how to manage those people. And to move to the executive level, you need to know how to lead and manage. And those are skills that you may not have. And I find that a lot of people don't want to learn. They've gotten so good at what they do, it's gotten them to where they are, so it should continue to work for them going forward. You have to be willing to learn new things in order to go new places. And so learning management, learning leadership, learning executive skills, you have to be coachable in order to do that. If you're not coachable, I'm not going to work with you. And most coaches won't work with you. And most leaders won't lean into helping you. You have to be willing to demonstrate, hey, I don't know how to be an effective leader. I'm a great programmer. I'm a great individual contributor. I'm probably a great manager too. But are you a great executive? You have to learn those skills. And so you have to be willing to be coached in those skills. And so I have been asked to coach people that are like this, and I've refused because no matter what I say, it's not going to change the fact that they just don't want to hear it. And so if you're in that frame of mind, if you're like really like, I should be able to be promoted to CTO because I'm just really good at code, it doesn't work that way. You have to learn the executive skills. If you want to learn them, keep watching this channel, and I'll be putting a lot of this content out there. You can also see a bunch on Instagram at TomCoxVM, and you can DM me there directly if you want to talk about something that's going on in your career. And so if you're interested in growing your executive career, reach out to me. But that's what I've got for you today, the 3 skills that you absolutely have to learn and master in order to become an effective executive, and then that bonus skill. I hope you all have a great week, and I will see you soon.